A warm welcome to viewers in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, and from around the world. This is World View. My name is Xavier Robert, and on our top stories today, flights evacuating Europeans from Niger arrive in France and Italy. Russian drone strike hit Ukrainian port facilities at Izmail on the river Danube, a short distance from NATO member state Romania. Thousands of soldiers in El Salvador surround a rural region larger than New York City to flush out gang members who are allegedly hiding there. The details of these stories and more in a moment.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
First on Worldview today, flights evacuating Europeans from Niger have arrived in France and Italy. France began evacuating its citizens from Niger amid anti-French sentiment following last week's coup. 262 people arrived in Paris early today. The coup has prompted demonstrations against the former colonial power, with the French embassy coming under attack. However, France says it has no plans to repatriate about 1,000 French soldiers stationed there as part of efforts to counter Islamist militants. Meanwhile, major cities in Niger are facing rolling blackouts following last week's coup in the West African country. The power shortages are a result of Nigeria cutting supplies to its northern neighbor. Niger's electricity company, Nigelec, says the West African trading bloc, ECOWAS, has imposed sanctions on Niger over the coup, but has not said if these include electricity supplies. On Sunday, West African leaders gave Niger's military junta a week to give up power or face possible military intervention. Residents living in the cities of Niamey, Maradi and Zinder have power for about an hour at a time before it is switched off for up to 5 hours. Power cuts like these are unusual in Niger, which normally has regular and reliable supplies. But the country is heavily dependent on its wealthier neighbor to the south, Nigeria, as its main supplier of electricity. In the meantime, Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani has said Western military intervention to remove the junta in Niger must be avoided. His comments came after the West African regional grouping ECOWAS threatened to use force to reinstate Niger's democratically elected president. In a related development, the military juntas in Burkina Faso and Mali have said any forcible attempt to restore President Mohamed Bazoum in neighboring Niger will be seen as a declaration of war on them. This follows a threat from a regional bloc that it would take all measures if the president was not reinstated. The joint statement comes as Chadian President Mohamed Idris Deby has been in Niger leading mediation efforts on behalf of the West African bloc ECOWAS to resolve the crisis. Away from that, a Russian drone strike has hit Ukrainian port facilities at Izmail on the river Danube, a short distance from NATO member state Romania. a grain warehouse, a passenger building, and an elevator for loading grain have all been damaged. Russia began targeting Ukraine's ports after abandoning a UN deal that enabled both countries to export grain safely across the Black Sea. A large fire raged from the port area of Izmail early on Wednesday. A video filmed from the Romanian side of the Danube, roughly 3 kilometers away, showed the extent of the fire. Romanian President Klaus Iohannis condemned Russia's continued attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure in the proximity of Romania as unacceptable. Odessa regional leader Oleg Kepa said emergency services were working on the site of the latest Russian attack, and there were no reports of any casualties. President Volodymyr Zelensky said that unfortunately there has been damage, and the regional chief posted several images on social media indicating that several structures had been hit. Meanwhile, at least 6 people, including a 10-year-old girl and her mother, have been killed by a Russian missile strike on the Ukrainian city of Kryvyi. Ukraine's interior minister said 69 others were injured when missiles slammed into a high-rise building and a university. The reports say regional governor Serhiy Lysak declared a day of mourning for those lost. The home city of President Volodymyr Zelensky, Kryvyi, has reportedly been a consistent target for Russian strikes. In June, 11 people died and 28 others were injured in the city after Russia launched a massive missile attack on civilian buildings. Meanwhile, the latest attack saw dozens of people hospitalized, including children aged through 4 and 17. Away from that, a skyscraper in Russia's capital, Moscow, has been attacked by a drone for the second time in 2 days. Several drones were shot down overnight, but one flew into the same tower of the Moskva city complex that was targeted on Sunday. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry has blamed Ukraine for the latest attack. Reports say that no one was injured in the skyscraper attack. In a related development, Ukraine says that Russia struck port infrastructure in Ukraine's southern region of Odessa, targeting facilities used to export grain since the collapse of the deal allowing shipments from the Black Sea. The General Prosecutor's Office said in a statement that Russian armed forces carried out damaged or destroyed. A statement added that the Izmail District Prosecutor's Office has opened a probe. Reports say that Russia has been pounding the port city of Odessa and the surrounding region since Moscow withdrew from a grain deal last month that allowed Kiev's grain exports via the Black Sea to continue despite the war. The Danube River port of Izmail is now the main export route for Ukrainian agricultural products. And in a separate development now, thousands of soldiers in El Salvador have surrounded a rural region larger than New York City to flush out gang members who are allegedly hiding there. The military deployment in Cabanas was ordered by President Nayib Bukele as part of his ongoing war on gangs. More than 70,000 suspected gang members have been arrested since a state of emergency was declared in March 2022. Thousands of people with no discernible link to gang activity have also been swept up in the dragnet of arrests. Lorries loaded with soldiers were seen on the streets of the regional towns of Tejutepec and Ilobaso on Tuesday, according to media reports. Now, the president said that his government's security strategies had succeeded in dismantling the gangs in the country's large urban centers and forced them into hiding in rural areas. After the break, former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted for his wide-ranging attempts to overturn the 2020 election, the third time in 4 months that the former U.S. president has been criminally charged. So stay with us for details on this and more right after the break.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by, as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this
lord.
an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted for his wide-ranging attempts to overturn the 2020 election. The third time in 4 months that the former U.S. president has been criminally charged. The four-count, 45-page indictment charges Trump with conspiring to